Is this how you would handle it? If you were CEO of an organization that admits it looked the other way when at least $1 million got embezzled, money that was siphoned from the poor, essentially, well, listen and decide. Hours ago, ACORN CEO Bertha Lewis spoke at the National Press Club. She answered questions about the embezzlement scandal and the undercover tapes that show ACORN workers giving tax evasion advice to a man posing as a pimp and a woman pretending to be a prostitute.
You may know me as the biggest threat to democracy in America. And most recently, some of you may know me as the head of an international brothel network. Some of the actions that you all caught on those videotapes by workers, it made my stomach turn over. It just made you sick. So yes, I terminated those employees. Some of them, it was very sad because they'd been working with us for over 10 years. Some of these women were mothers and grandmothers who thought that they were doing the right thing, who thought that they shouldn't be judgmental. But the other employees that we had, who by and large did do the right thing, did not deserve to have co-workers who did not live up to their standards.
What do you hope to accomplish with your lawsuit against the filmmakers Giles and O'Keefe?
We want to hold them accountable the same way that we turned in folks who tried to defraud us. It is illegal, as Linda Tripp will tell you, to record someone in the state of Maryland without their permission. Just because we were embarrassed by these highly edited tapes, which don't tell the whole story, again, and hopefully that will come out, doesn't mean that these people didn't break the law in order to embarrass and attack the organization.
You mentioned that your founder's brother embezzled $1 million. Yesterday, a Louisiana prosecutor alleged that the brother embezzled in excess of $5 million. Can you please explain this discrepancy?
Two board members who were voted out of the organization by the board, the full board, decided to just make up a $5 million figure because they said, well, we just don't believe it. They asked for a forensic audit. We had a forensic audit. Now, this may not be the exact amount, but I think it was $948,562.35. So this is speculation, completely false, and not based on any documentation or any audit or anything other than two disgruntled former board members. The RNC every single day, because we've been inflated as the boogeyman, raises almost $2 million a day, every day. And this form of modern-day ACORN McCarthyism has got to stop. Last week, members of Congress were asked, are you now, or have you ever been, a member of ACORN? Everybody should take pause at that. Everybody should say, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is not how we have discourse. This is not how we have disagreement in this country. By demonizing someone without due process. This whole voting to defund ACORN, it's all sensational, but it's unconstitutional.
Joins live is David Freddoso, writer for the Washington Examiner. Now, David, she says this is McCarthyism, but I have here a subpoena that filed some time ago in the state of Louisiana, and they say it's $5 million that the organization was ripped off. I don't know, $948,000, she says, but that's not chump change either.
Right.
So what's going on in Louisiana? Well,
that's Attorney General Caldwell's allegation. I have never seen, as she said, I've never seen any documentation that it was $5 million. But what is agreed upon by all parties is that there was a very large $1 million embezzlement by the brother of ACORN's founder, Darrell Rathke. It was discovered by certain members of the organization, and it was kept hidden from the board of directors for several years, nearly a decade, until finally last year it all came to light and created a huge scandal for the group. What Bertha Lewis wants to do now, and what she's trying to do with today's press conference, is to show, look, we're dealing with the problems, but she also says, well, and it's pretty much everybody else's fault, the Republicans in Congress, these two kids were making this undercover film. But I think what's really a little bit incongruous about all of this is that a lot of the people who covered up this embezzlement are still involved in the organization.
Was she at the organization, at the head of its CEO or on the board at the time they first learned it was $948,000, which I've said is not chummed in? Was she there?
She was there, but she was not one of the people who knew. She wasn't one of the people covering up. And the person who was in charge had to step down. Right. She came in and she's saying, look, I am cleaning up after this. That's one of the things she said today. I'm cleaning up after the previous administration. The problem is there hasn't really been a cleanup. They fired some of these people in the videos. As she mentioned, people who'd been with them for years, mothers and grandmothers. She almost made them into the victims. But the people who covered up the embezzlement they didn't get rid of them.
She said she thought that they were doing right. I mean, but the problem is it's criminal conduct. That's the problem.
Right.
I don't know why she'd think that they were doing right.
She said they thought they were doing the right thing by not being judgmental. So when someone tries to help a self-described child sex trafficker cheat on their taxes, that it's considered non-judgmental.
Right. This $948,000, which she admits was swindled from the organization. What's this? Do you know the source of that money? Is that federal taxpayer money, or is that contributions?
Well, that's part of what's unclear, and that's part of what the Attorney General of Louisiana is trying to get to the bottom of with his subpoena. In fact, that's one of the specific things that he mentions, is that it's unclear exactly where the money came from that was stolen. But all of that money was, you know, when it comes to these ACORN programs, whether they're helping low-income people get housing or do their taxes, that's all money that is supposedly going toward organization and helping the poor. So you can say, as you did.
It's siphoned off the poor. Here, when I practiced criminal law, if you stole a ham from the Safeway because you were starving, it was still a violation of the law. The ham cost less than $50. Here is $948,000, and they look the other way, and they act like, you know, like that, oh, hark, hark. I mean, this is such a terrible thing happening to our organization.
I think there was a slip of the tongue that when Bertha Lewis said, just as we turned in the people who tried to defraud us, she was referring to people who tried to cheat them by turning in fake voter cards under the ACORN programs. But in fact, the people who did the person who did the embezzlement was never turned into the authorities, and you know, to date, there have been no criminal charges.
And even it took the Palesta group in Ohio to uncover a lot of that, and there weren't exactly volunteers from ACORN. It's like pulling teeth trying to get information from them.
And she, well, her claim today was that they had turned in every single person that was involved in fake voter registration. And yeah, that's a claim that I think, I don't know the evidence really bears that out.
Well, the investigation goes on, and Louisiana is going after this pretty aggressively. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Republican Congressman Darrell Issa is an outspoken critic of ACORN. We went to see Congressman Issa on Capitol Hill, and he went on the record. The CEO was speaking today, and she has said that it was like McCarthyism, what is going on vis-a-vis Republicans versus ACORN. I take you don't agree with that.
Well, you know, I understand that she would think of us as chairman, but in fact, we're in the minority. We're simply able to put out the facts that we can find from publicly available sources, and ultimately, we've been vindicated by the facts of what happened at ACORN and what continues to happen with the majority making decisions to defund ACORN.
ACORN still getting money from the government?
Yes, they are. It's beginning to fall by the wayside because obviously when they ask for grant money, they no longer have the political clout to get that money the way they once did.
Are you of the mind that all ACORN money spent so far has been wasteful or subject to fraud, or do you think some of it's been a legitimate expense for good purpose?
Well, absolutely. Some of what ACORN has done has been in support of good causes, and they bring that up all the time. But, you know, Bernie Madoff gave to charity. That doesn't necessarily make up for the bad work done. And there are lots of charity, nonprofit groups out there who regularly compete against ACORN for those same grants. They would do them without the adverse side effects.
What do you expect ACORN to do at this point? Or do you think it should be the Justice Department going in and doing a full-scale investigation, or do you think ACORN should be doing something?
Bertha Lewis has an opportunity, even today, to have outside auditors, real live independent auditors, not a Democrat operative that makes a quick brush over, which, by the way, we believe still shows the lack of firewalls. But if she calls in, as I said the other day, PricewaterhouseCoopers or some independent audit organization says, audit our books, figure out where the money went, and tell us what we need to do, then she could begin to rebuild the organization.
Why don't you think she's done that?
I don't think she's done it for the same reason as we don't know whether $1 million or $5 million was embezzled more than 8 years ago. This is a group that lives on its internal secrecies and doesn't want us to know where the money went.
Are you satisfied that $5 million is the top lid, or are you suspicious it could be more?
You know, embezzlement is a business of secrets, and it's very hard to know how much was misdirected in that case. But remember, a lot of money's been misdirected as a matter of practice. Money is recruited from all kinds of sources that ends up in political activities.
All right. Now, I know you've been in Congress about 8 years. I won't blame you for every ill of the Congress. You won't blame me for every ill of the media. But why did it take two young people with a camera? I mean, the Congress has been dishing this money out to them. Why didn't you check up, see where your money was going, or where our money was going?
Well, I'm very thankful for those two whistleblowers because they did, in a matter of minutes on Fox, what my 88-page report and 6 months of work published in July couldn't do. It got the attention of the media, so the media is beginning to look at all the sins of ACORN, including 1/3 of all their voter registration applications being fraudulent. There's a lot that we covered in July that only came to light really when it became salacious.
Can we be confident that this has sort of lit a fire under Congress, and now the Congress is going to be more vigilant in terms of money that's handed out, especially in these millions and billions categories? Can we feel a little better, sleep a little better at night?
No.
All right. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you very much.